X-Men. If you're not, this is the wrong room. All right, so we're going to go ahead and welcome our guests onto the stage. First up, we have Matthew Waterson. AJ Locascio.
Hello.
And Lenore Zann.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, sugar. How y'all doing today? Good.
Is this y'all's first time in Atlanta?
I think it's my second time.
Okay.
Let's hear about.
Me and Matthew spent a night here alone.
We did. We spent a snowy night here in a hotel downtown in January.
It was beautiful, it was snowy.
We had no clothes for the snow because we were on our way to Puerto Rico, so we basically just had jeans and t-shirts, so yeah.
They were on their way to meet me.
Yes.
And they had to be together.
We just needed to stop on the way and spend the night together.
Keep each other warm.
So yes, we've been to Atlanta.
Yeah, we've been to Atlanta.
Is this our first MomoCon with all three of us?
Yes.
Very nice. Welcome to MomoCon, everybody.
Thank you so much.
All right, so to start things off, what was your initial reaction to finding out that you guys were asked for Lenore reprising the role, for you guys voicing characters that you've seen since you were kids?
You guys go first.
Well, I mean, after seeing what Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender did, I expected that they would come to somebody who knew what they were doing. No, I'm kidding. Don't let them hear that, please, for the love of God. They will both kill me. It came to me through an audition, and I didn't grow up with the show because I was at boarding school in England when it was airing. So I got to come to it sort of clean, but it was really cool because a lot of the time when a show like this is being brought back or is being done, you don't know whether the roles are actually available or whether it's sort of going out for wide casting and then it's going to be celebrities. And this is one where they were like, no, we're casting the people that we like for the show itself. And that was really, really cool. And then once it seemed like it was actually a possibility, it became terrifying, but it's still really cool.
So for me, I was a big nerd for X-Men. Gambit was my favorite growing up. I dressed up as him for Halloween multiple times. So when I got like the packet that was like, here's all the X-Men, I was like, I just want Gambit. So he was the only one I auditioned for, which is a really bad idea for any aspiring voice actors. Do them all, don't just audition for one, but it seemed to work out this time. But yeah, I kept thinking I was gonna get recast just because of how big this was, and somehow it worked out. So when I found out, I obviously freaked out, so I'm still freaking out.
And when I got an email, first of all, saying Disney is looking for you because they're doing some new show and they're interested in you possibly being involved. I was living in Truro, Nova Scotia, tiny little town where I had grown up, and I had left acting for 12 years to go into politics. So I was an elected official, a congresswoman, and then a member of parliament in Ottawa with Prime Minister Trudeau. So I thought, this is just a hoax, a joke. And I said, well, if this is real, get them to give me a call. I gave them my cell phone. And then I got a call from Meredith Lane, who is now our voice director, who was the casting director at the time. And she said, yeah, Disney's very interested in you auditioning for a role. Can I send you the script and you record it and send it back? And I said, sure, of course. And then I read the lines, even though it was a different character that was written, the name was different. I recognized the lines as Rogue's lines from the X-Men, the animated series back in the 90s. So I thought, oh, they're looking for Rogue. So I just did my Rogue voice into my little phone and sent it off as an MP3 attached to an email to Hollywood from Nova Scotia. And then about a month later, I got word back that they wanted to meet with me and do a Zoom meeting, the producers. And on that meeting, they said, Lenore, we're just such huge fans of your voice, and yeah, we're doing a new show, a continuation of the original series, and we'd love you to come back and suit up as Rogue again. So I said, you had me at hello, sugar. And here we are.
We're very glad for that. Was there anything you guys did specifically to prepare for your roles?
Kegels.
Fun fact, AJ is doing them right now.
Gotta keep things strong. Prepare? I mean, as someone who grew up the show, I'd watched the show multiple times, and I mean, I always, whenever there's a voice match or a character where I have to use a specific accent, I make a little file where I just have the reference audio that I listen to incessantly. So I had Chris Potter and then also some Cajun podcasts, which are a thing. And Craftsman, does anyone know Craftsman? On YouTube? Welcome to the Craftsman Show. He's a little puppet that builds things. He's got a Cajun accent, so I watched a lot of him. But just a lot of no one knows Craftsman? You got okay, all right. There's some cultured folk. If you haven't seen Craftsman, that's what I'm really here for. Crafsman, the Craftsman Show. It's the most relaxing thing you'll ever see. Stop judging me, Matthew. Anyway,
I hate to break it to you, that's my YouTube channel.
It is an anonymous YouTube channel too. No one knows who he is. It's a puppet, so no one. And even when he shows his hands, he's got puppet hands. So it's the Craftsman Show. But anyway, yeah, I listened to a lot of reference and sweat because I was very nervous about this. So I prepared by going to therapy. Sorry, go ahead. Watch Craftsman.
The first time around, I just took a look at the drawing of Rogue that Larry Houston had done, and Larry was our original director. And she just seemed to have this attitude, this really like, go ahead and make my day kind of attitude. And I was told they were looking for a woman with a deep, husky, sexy voice who could do a Southern accent. And I had played a lot of Southerners on film and television and done an animated series, one other animated series before I auditioned for X-Men the first time around called Stunt Dogs. And I played a character called Sizzle, and she had a Southern accent. So X-Men was only my second animated series audition. So I went in the booth and I put the headphones on and I said, my daddy liked to kill himself when he found out I was a mutant. I remember I had me a boyfriend when I was 13. Had me a boyfriend till I kissed him. Poor boy went into a coma for 3 days. And that was it. I heard them screaming on the other end of the headphones in Los Angeles, and they said, don't let her leave the building. That's Rogue. That's the voice right there. And the rest is history, as we say.
Sort of like AJ, I actually still have the file on my desktop that they sent with the audition when Magneto was named Harold. And so there's one clip in particular on that, which is a clip from the original series where Magneto was voiced by David Hemlin. And there's a line that is actually a Shakespeare line taken from The Tempest that is actually not Prospero. It is the daughter saying it, and she's saying in "Oh Brave New World" that has such people in it that she's actually saying when she sees the character that will be her husband for the first time. But he's saying that and that, and for some reason that particular line, listening to him do that, I will just listen to that and go back and forth like 3 or 4 times, and that is what I do to kind of match the voice.
Do you remember what it is? Love to hear you say that one.
Oh, brave new world that has such people in it.
It's beautiful. Beautiful.
They haven't put any more Shakespeare in the show, I don't know why.
Sorry, AJ. It's beautiful. He has some great speeches, Magneto in X-Men
I
'97.
was going to say Shakespeare, yeah.
Well, Shakespeare does. But so do you. You've got some amazing ones. When when the government's up in the sky, and you're
Right.
talking to them. Holy moly!
I wish I could do that now.
Yeah, I know. Right? Magneto was right. You know.
Can you guys share any memorable anecdotes from the recording studio?
No.
Well, we record alone. We record alone on this. I think you guys recorded as a group for like at least the first season or the first like handful of episodes, right? Back in the 90s.
Yes.
Yeah, we had 1, 2 things we got to record together, which was great because then you get to be with, we get to feed off each other's energy like vampires. But there's not too much. That's a tough one because at least for me, it's just kind of like go in, do it, and then go home. There's nothing too eventful.
And I don't even go in. I've recorded everything from my studio at home. I literally usually recorded in just like pajamas. I like change my shirt just for the sake of production, but like.
We'll have to picture you like that from now on, right?
Well, this is the secret this is the reveal that I give people for voice acting. Imagine the amount of times a day you hear a voice actor, whether it's watching an animated show or hearing a promo voice of, Tonight on Fox, or whether you're listening to the radio. A huge proportion of us work from home, which means that many times a day you're listening to somebody with no pants on. Because one of the biggest perks of voice acting is you don't have to wear pants, you don't have to get dressed, you're in a booth at home. So, yeah, my mother-in-law kind of had a strange look at me when I said, "You're listening to half-naked people every day." She went, "Okay."
Why are you telling this to your mother-in-law? Matthew, how did you get in my house? There's half-naked people everywhere. They're like centaurs.
But I will tell you, back in the 90s when we got together, we did do it in the beginning in a circle. We had the microphone set up in a circle, and it was kind of like a radio drama. So we all got to see each other and make each other laugh and joke around. And, imagine having Cal Dodd as Wolverine there, and Norm Spencer as Cyclops, and Chris Potter as I almost said as AJ, Chris Potter as Gambit, and they were always one-upping each other and trying to get any extra parts, because if you did an extra part, you got paid another half of your salary, so they were always trying to get those from each other. But we had a lot of fun, and oftentimes we go out drinking afterwards. And, back in the days when I drank, I don't drink anymore, but at the time we used to have a lot of fun and go out to the little bar that was on the street outside of the studio and sit in the sun, have a beer and shoot the shit. But now, like I said, we're oftentimes alone in our studios or at the studio. I prefer going into the studio because I like an engineer to be twiddling all the knobs and making my voice loud or soft or whatever they need. And I can just focus on the performance.
Thank you. I was going to ask, how has, since COVID and not being able to record in the studio together, do you feel like that's affected performances at all?
No,
I think it affects Matthew's
people have
performance.
I think people have imaginations. I think, to be an actor, you have to have a really good imagination. And so, if you're being told, okay, you're flying through the sky, now you get hit by an optic blast, and now you get caught in a whirlwind, and you're going around and around and around, you're falling down, and then you're almost hitting the ground, and then you're punching your way through, and then, you got to imagine that. And so it's like being a kid again, when you were playing by yourself and imagining all the people chasing you and things like that. It's like that, only now, we do it for a living. So I feel blessed that we get to use our imaginations and be so creative in that way as adults. It's a lot of fun.
What was the question? How does it...
Am I sick of carrying you when we record in person together? And the answer is yes.
Yeah. I can't act if Matthew's not there glaring at me, just staring at me.
But AJ, did you do anything in shows where it was the first Croods thing you guys were on to record?
Croods
right?
and Voltron, we all recorded together, which was great, but then they had to start separating us because Josh Keaton and Tyler Bean and Nolan North, they all kept making jokes, and then it just became a big dad joke tornado. Which is great, but it was just, and then it was a mess. But that's why it was so fun. We'd use the whole 4-hour block making jokes, and Andrea Romano, who's a legendary director, would be like, guys, stop. Because Josh would always go, "Brrr," like in the middle of takes. He loves making fart noises. So, but yeah, it changes everything because you're responding to people, and also you come up with stupid stuff on the fly. I don't know how much that would be okay in X-Men, but in a show like The Croods, it's all poopy fart jokes, so it's okay.
I recorded one Marvel movie in a complete cast, and no one has ever let me be in a room with other people again.
That's why you're by yourself at your farm.
No, I didn't choose to move out of LA. They shipped me out. There's actually a city ordinance that says I had to leave town.
You and the chickens.
He owns a bunch of chickens, so... Did I slur that? He owns... The latency on the mic is messing me up. You own many chickens. That's not a joke.
It's not, although now I'm concerned for their safety based on that comment.
You own many delicious chickens. Well, because you said chickens, and I'm like, people should know he has a bunch of chickens. That's my favorite fact about you. Chicken owner. Anyway.
How many chickens do you have?
16. Right? Or is it...
It's about that. I don't, we literally had like 3 chicks hatch last week, so whatever the number was, it's changed now. As long as they all live.
AJ's here, so.
Yeah.
Jay's here, so yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a couple more questions for you guys. Those in the audience who have questions, y'all can go ahead and start queuing up in the center, and then we'll turn it over to a Q&A shortly. So we mentioned earlier Magneto's speech. Have you seen any impact with some of the more emotional scenes like that? Spoiler alert, I hope you've seen the show if you're here. Gambit.
Yeah.
Magneto.
What? Does something happen? I haven't watched the show. I mean, people come up, I know you get this a lot too. People come up crying constantly or telling me you made me cry because of that scene, and I'm like, I didn't write it. But I'm glad that I got to perform it. But people, it's also, there's an accusatory tone where people are like, you made my whole family cry. And I'm like, if I could have written it, it would have just been The Gambit Show, starring Gambit and Rogue, but mostly Gambit. So yeah, and a lot of people who have lost loved ones around the same time that had happened, so very profound conversations I've had with people, and yeah, it's a big weight to bear, because you don't realize you perform an animated episode for something, and it's directly impacting someone who perhaps lost someone very recently, and they take that with them.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people say to us, it's the first time a cartoon ever made me cry. And I do love to tell the story of the little 6-year-old fan that we got somewhere in our tour this last year, and she told me that she'd watched our show, X-Men 97 now, 6 times. I said, oh, did you start when you were in the womb? But, and then she said, and I watched episode 5 7 times. I kept watching it, and I said, oh my goodness, I looked at her father. I said, well, that's pretty heavy. Did you have a good conversation with her? He said, oh yes, we talked about what death is, and it's part of life, and I said, okay, all right, that's good. He said, no, it was good. It gave us the opportunity to have that conversation. And I said, so it wasn't scary for you? She said, oh no, it was very exciting. I said, okay. And she said, but I feel very sorry for Rogue. And I said, oh. She said, yeah, because she lost both of her boyfriends. So cute. From the mouths of babes.
So remember that, AJ, children love watching you die.
Hey, you're on that too. Yeah, it's not just me. But yes, it's
No, no, no. They like watching me get abducted. It's different. But yeah, the one of the really nice things that has come out of this show and of doing, you know, these appearances and these conventions has been having people come up to tell you about the things that connect with them, because sometimes it's the parts, the lines, the scenes that you would expect. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's something that didn't occur to you that could land so, you know, heavily with somebody. But it does, because the writers, the directors, the, you know, the animators, or the people who do the sound and music, they also, you know, are exceptional at their jobs. They know what they're doing, and there's moments in it that connect to people that you, when you're doing it, may not realize how heavily it's going to connect with somebody. And it's really lovely to have people come up and say, hey, this moment meant something to me or to my family or to somebody because of this or that. And let's be honest, if you decide you're going to be an actor for a career, you're like, I'm lucky if I can make enough money doing weird commercials for Jiffy Lube and stuff like that. So when you're doing something, or like doing like an episode of Law and Order, so when you're doing something that actually means something to people, it's kind of surprising, and it's also it's a wonderful perk of the job that you never expect is going to happen, but it's lovely when it does.
I love your Jiffy Lube commercials, by the way. Hello, I'm Matthew Waterson, and I'll lube anything.
AJ watches my Jiffy Lube commercials the way children watch him die.
Yeah. Over and over. My parents are like, please, we gotta get him a new tape. And I'm like, no, again. It's a tape, too. It's a VHS.
Well, yeah, I did.
I recorded over the Wiggles to have all your... Yeah.
And my last question, what do you hope fans take away from the series?
That AJ died.
That it's okay to be different. Whatever that means. We're all in this together, folks.
It's tough. I mean, there's so much in our show. There will always be shitty, evil people, and you have to keep fighting them because it's the only way to defeat them, is kind of how I feel. And it's always the oddballs, the mutants, the weirdos, the nerds that are the ones that are always feeling other. And it's important that we have communities where we feel seen and where we, you know, recognize that it's the weird ones that are going to change the world, and we're the not weird ones. we the cool ones. But yeah, we have to fight against the crappy people. Well, there's a nicer way to say it. Lenore, you would say this better than I would.
I just think, yeah, like that it's okay to be different, whatever that means. Like, there's an episode in the original series when Rogue decides she wants to get rid of her superpowers because they bring her pain, because she can't touch anyone, she can't be in love, she can't let her guard down, she can't just be normal like everybody else. So she goes to Muir Island, it's called The Cure. And she goes, because there's supposed to be this scientist who's discovered a way to get rid of everybody's superpowers. And she gets there, and of course you discover that it's Mystique. But in the course of that episode, Rogue realizes that she has to embrace herself for who she is. And she says, towards the end, she says, I realize I am my powers and the good they can do. And I reckon I can live with that. There ain't no cure for who you are. And I would add, nor should there be. Keep the faith. Keep the faith, everybody.
Ditto.
Yeah, there's nothing we can add to that. You did it.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll turn to our audience now with our first question.
What helps you get into character while recording your voices?
Sorry, could you repeat that again, please?
While you're recording, what helps you get into character?
I eat a whole plate of beignets. I wish that were true. I wish I could manifest a plate of beignets or a whole bunch of jambalaya. I just talk to myself as I'm driving as Gambit the whole time, like legitimately. I do that with most characters I do, where it's just you're warming up, getting the voice, like saying signs that I see around when I'm driving, because if you can't say everything, then you don't have the voice. So it's like, and road signs specifically are weird. You know, there's random names all over the place. So I just do that as I'm driving, which sounds crazy, but it seems to work. What about you guys? I mean, you just have it.
I just open up my mouth and road comes out.
There's a joke in there. Just gonna go ahead, Matthew.
I used to do what AJ does, but I guess I don't get allowed to go in anywhere now. I don't have a drive. But yeah, I mean, between either if it is X-Men, like I said, like listening to the sound reference, and if it's not, if it's something else, it can depend. A lot of the time, I would say like 80-90% of the time, it's just reading the script. It's the writing, and because if it's good, and fortunately most of the stuff I've got to work on is well written, that is enough. If it's not good, and every now and then you get stuff that's not good, then you find something else. Either you're looking at the art, or you're going back to figure out like, okay, what was it that I did that got me the job, and what was the idea that I had? Because most of the jobs I get are not ones that I got because I did what was in the breakdown. I saw something and I went, oh, I have an idea. And I did that thing, and so that'll often help to go back and be like, okay, what was the idea and what was that grounded in? Oh, okay, now I can take that to whatever the writing is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I actually want to know what 4 X-Men you guys would pick to try to defeat the Fantastic Four.
Whoa, can you say that into the mic again? Or there we go.
So I want to know what 4 X-Men you guys would pick to try to defeat the Fantastic Four.
Do we think the X-Men could defeat the Fantastic?
What?
Oh, which 4 would we
Yeah,
pick?
which 4 would you guys pick?
Rogue, Gambit, Magneto, and
Blob.
yeah, Storm, absolutely.
We're just 4 Wolverines. Just all, just like angrily. 4, 5, 3 men.
I can't hit them, they're so small.
Because they're small. It's like choosing Oddjob and GoldenEye, where you just can't get at them. Was that the horrible answer you wanted? No. Okay, you're welcome. Sorry.
Afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
My question is kind of a two-parter. I was going to say, what are some of your favorite lines from y'all's characters personally? And I have a bit of a strange request for Matthew.
Yes.
Could you say, "Welcome, foolish mortals, to the haunted mansion" in your Magneto voice?
Welcome, foolish mortals, to the haunted mansion.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me start with that because I'm not going to remember that.
Cool.
Welcome, foolish mortals, to the haunted mansion.
Well, you look about as nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs.
I mean, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's basically tattooed to me now. The name is Gambit, mon ami. Remember it.
Yeah.
Everything he built, everything he fought for, now belongs to me. My X-Men.
That was beautiful. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Grace.
Yes. My question is, what is something you like and dislike about your character?
Can we talk about each other's characters?
I mean, each other or your own. Kind of like when you're recording or you're looking through the story, you're just like, that's not my favorite thing about Rogue. Or maybe you're like, I wish you had this or something like that.
Okay, I'm easy. I love everything about Gambit. The only thing I would change is his current status. That's the spoiler-free version of that. Yeah. No, he's perfect. I wouldn't change anything about him.
I agree, sugar.
Yeah. Gambit appreciate that shit. Same with Rogue.
Sure.
Really? There's nothing you would change about Rogue? Would you like to be able to actually, touch her like Eric can?
All right, fine. We can get one of those suits, those ghillie suits, or one of those spandex suits. Yeah. A ghillie suit's what they use in the fields, right? Where they've got. I don't want a ghillie suit.
Yeah, a ghillie suit it's like camouflage.
I'm thinking, yeah, a
Looks like a
camouflage.
bush.
Yeah. No, she's perfect.
Well,
Magneto, on the other hand. More Speedos. Just a helmet and a
Or Speedos.
Yeah.
I love Rogue the way she is, and I'm glad that she's starting to appreciate herself as she is, because I think that's something that we all struggle with. And, the more that we can accept ourselves as we are and try to help others to also enjoy their life and feel like they're worthy just the way they are, I think that's important. And I love the fact that Rogue will always put herself in the line of fire for her friends and also for people she doesn't know. Like, she really is a social justice warrior, and I love her for that.
One of the things I particularly like about Magneto is that he is completely unapologetic about who he is and what he is, for all of the reasons in his history. But he is one of the characters that could pass. He could just be a person and nobody would know, but he's not willing to do that. He's not willing to be something that he is not to make life easier. And in actual fact, he does everything he can that makes his life much more difficult in order to not be that, in order to not just sort of go along to get along. Do I dislike about him? I don't know. I kind of wish he was a little less restrained. Just by yeah.
Just like a raving lunatic.
No.
And you're dead, and you're dead. Just like crunching people into chairs.
I don't know. I think you could you could be a little more free with a shutting down the planet kind of thing. Be like, oh really? My coffee's not ready? Now what?
Just turn everyone into a human burrito. Just folding metal around everyone. Don't care for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hello.
My question is for Matthew. In episode 5, you actually have a spoken German line. You say "hab keine Angst." I was wondering, are you a German speaker, or did you have to be coached on that line?
I am not a German speaker, but I've done a lot of audiobooks, and just through happenstance, my specialty is nonfiction, and in particular World War II, the Eastern Front, and it's mostly because I don't speak German or Russian. I don't speak any other languages fluently, but I speak enough German and enough Russian and enough French and enough Spanish and enough Italian that I can read the names or lines and things like that in the book, and because I've done so many, I've got used to it. So when that line actually came out, they were like, "We got somebody to help you," and I was like, I've done that. I'm fine. They're like, "Oh, you speak German?" I'm like, "No. If you speak to me in German, I just look at you confused. But if you give me German to read, I can read it well enough that most Germans are like, oh, you speak German?" I'm like, "No."
I assumed too, so yeah.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hi, so my question's for the whole cast. How do you feel your character specifically would feel knowing that there's this much love within the fandom for them, and also the fact that a bunch of weirdos come and dress up as them for conventions multiple times a year?
I think they'd be blown away. Like, if you were to tell our 90s selves as actors that this was happening, we would have been blown away. We had no idea. And we're very grateful to the fans that you've been so loyal. And I can speak for the original cast. We're all really touched that the show has meant so much to so many people. So thank you.
Were you asking how our characters would feel?
Yeah.
oh, Gambit just assume everybody love him. So, yeah, that answers that. Magneto, would you care? That's a difficult. For Magneto, he'd be like, "What?"
I don't know if he would be surprised or I don't know actually. It might be a thing where he was like, well, yes, of course, or it might be a thing where it's just like, what are you doing? Why? Be yourself. I'm me. I don't like. It's an interesting question because I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like he'd be like, how can I use this to radicalize you? Yeah, how can I use you to throw you at the UN? Or, yeah. Anyway, sorry.
It'd be like the scene in the usually like the scene in the Thomas Crown Affair where he's like, okay, everybody who's my height and build dress up, and then we can just confuse the world by they never actually know where I am at any given moment.
The Thomas Crown Affair is like the last reference you should make at an anime convention. I know it. Who here has seen the Thomas Crown Affair? Okay, 3 people.
7.
So, was it you counted? Okay. Oh, all right. Sorry, go ahead. I'm directing this now, apparently.
Hi, I was wondering if there was anything that happened during the production of the show, or maybe like a line in the script that you read, where you realized that the show was in good hands and it was going to be a hit and popular.
Just reading the scripts, to be honest. This time around, reading the scripts, I couldn't wait. I was on the edge of my seat all the way through the scenes. So I knew if I'm feeling that way, the audience is gonna feel that way. So yeah, reading the scripts told me that it was gonna be a hit.
Yeah, I mean, same. When I went in and the first 2 scripts I read, I was like, oh shit, you guys get it. Like, that was the relief, because you read many scripts where you don't feel that way and you just go, all right, cool, it's a job. But I was like, oh, I got goosebumps reading like the opening, the previously on X-Men and all that. I was like, okay, cool, we're doing that. And then just as I went through, I was like, yeah, this is good. So yeah, it was right away. And then once we started seeing animation finally, I was like, this looks gorgeous. So, because that was also something you're always worried about, like, is it going to look bad? But it does not, thank God. But yeah, it was pretty immediate.
Honestly, I didn't know until my wife and I sat down at the premiere. Because I didn't see much. I'd seen very, very little of it. I think I get the impression a lot of the other cast had seen a lot more of it than I did. I saw almost nothing. I saw like a couple of snippets here and there when we did ADR, but I'd seen almost nothing. And my ability to translate what was on the page visually to what I was going to see is like, I am in awe of the artists because I don't have that skill set. So I'm reading through it going, this is so intricate and so detailed. I don't know how to visualize this in the same way. And so when we actually sat down to the premiere and I saw it, I just went, fuck. Okay. And in all honesty, I think like a lot of people, in the first episode, going, oh, they made Cyclops really cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Because like the reality is Psyche, Captain America, and Superman are hard characters to get right because they're so earnest. And everybody is like, well, we'll make them a little dark and broody. I'm like, then that's not the character. Like, you've got to make them earnest but compelling. And seeing how well and how quickly they landed Cyclops and were like, and this is who he is, and he was awesome. And what they did with him and what Ray did with him, I'm like, okay, we're good. So I wish that I could say, no, I got it, but I'm not that smart.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
You can step up a little closer to the mic.
With how long you guys been playing these characters, what was the most emotional moment, whether it be a voice line or just reading maybe a comic? What was the most emotional moment for you guys playing them?
Sugar, I can't feel you. That one.
I hate it. It makes me so sad.
It was, and the way they directed it, that it cut to black. That was really, it got me. It got me in the booth, but it got me again when I was watching it.
I mean, for me, it wasn't like seeing the Gambit, that scene in episode 5. I was like, okay, you know, it was rough, but it wasn't like, it didn't emotionally impact me. I was just sort of taking it in. I didn't really understand. And it wasn't until like after it premiered, I rewatched it. I was like driving, and then I started crying, which is really weird. But like it hit me. I was like, oh, he just wants to be remembered. Like that got me in a way that I wasn't. It sort of crept up on me, which is often how like death and loss happens. Initially there's shock, and then it's sort of. I mean, it's a show, so it's weird. But it sort of hit me while I was just driving, and I was like, huh, interesting. But it wasn't in the booth, thank goodness. They would have been like, AJ, are you okay? But yeah, that line hit me later in a weird way.
It's interesting too, because at the end of graduation day, the last episode of the original series, when Professor X is going down the line and telling them all who they really are, and he says, you know, you'll be remembered as not a thief and a, you know, and so it definitely plays right along with that he's going to be remembered in a different way as being this selfless.
It's so funny to think of Tony Daniels, though, being like, yeah, Scooby-Doo-Ba-Ba-Ba, and then he flies away. That's how I imagine his version of Gambit. He sounds like, welcome to Radio DJ 101. Making fun of Tony. He's a very sweet guy from what I hear. But him going, and you, Gambit, and you go, yeah, baby. I shouldn't have done that on the panel.
I don't know if he says anything.
No, I don't think he does say anything, but I think of him in Marvel vs. Capcom. He had that cool radio DJ voice. Very different. Matthew, go ahead. What makes you cry, Daddy? I just called you Daddy to throw you off.
Not the first time.
Wake up, Daddy.
The line in German to Legion episode 5, because I've told it a couple of times, that created an interesting practical issue, because it's a very emotional line, and there's a thing as an actor, you're like, oh, I have the emotion, I feel it, blah, 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 but the importance is actors can get into themselves and be like, I felt the thing. You go, yeah, but nobody could hear you, or nobody could understand you, or you were facing upstage, so nobody saw it. So you feeling it doesn't matter. Because the aim is to create that feeling, to create that response in the audience. And so one of the things in doing that line was, it was very easy at first, and it kind of surprised me, because I wasn't like working up to it, but I got upset, and then we can't do it like that, because a lot is happening. He's slipping into another language that you haven't heard, so your ear isn't tuned to it. You have to be able to hear what he says, because even if you don't speak German and don't know exactly what it means, like, you have to be able to hear it. And so then it was a case of like, okay, reel back a bit to make sure that you can get the line out in a way that is going to land with the audience, not based on, well, this is how I feel right now. It's like, great, that's fine, good for you, but it has to land with the audience. So that was the line that hit me the most, but also presented an interesting lesson of like, that helped me be like, yeah, it's not about what I'm feeling or how my response to it. It's like, what is the job of telling the story that the writers and the directors are telling and getting it to the audience?
Thank you.
Woo!
We're gonna do a lightning round for our last 5 minutes.
I was just cheering you on. Sorry. Oh, 5 minutes.
I have to put up with these two doing this all the time.
There's a reason she records from Nova Scotia. It is to stay away from AJ.
Hi, so yeah, my question was for AJ specifically, but asking for everyone as well, just your opinions on this, which was specifically that,
Is this about Channing Tatum?
this was,
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Say the words. Everyone asked me, what did you think of Channing Tatum? Is that what you were going to ask?
I was gonna ask that.
It's so funny. This I get asked the most. I thought it was fun. It's funny what he did. His version of Gambit is some friends and I would do sort of like a more Cajun Gambit, where it was just kind of like, I mean, essentially what he did, where it's a little more swamp rat, a little more fun and silly. And so I went with those friends to go see Deadpool, not knowing Gambit was going to be in it. And when he came out, we were cracking up because we're like, that's the thing we do. That's the joke. So it was very funny because we didn't expect him to sort of be the goofy. I mean, he's doing a bit. And it's very funny, but yeah, it cracked me up. Is that what you wanted to know?
Yeah, I was wondering what your co-stars also thought about.
Oh, what did you guys think of Channing Tatum's Gambit?
It reminded me a little bit of Brad Pitt in, was it The Fight? Snatch.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Where he plays this Irish fighter, and you can't understand a word he's saying. Because he speaks really quickly in a thick Irish brogue, and everybody's having to tell other people what it is that he's saying. It reminded me of that.
It's funny, just a small aside, when I went in to do the first episode, I was like, where do we want to go between Cajun and what Chris Potter did, which Chris does a very like smooth, and Tony Daniels too, they both do a smooth sort of voice, whereas like Cajun is a little bit quicker, there's a little more of a clip and a rhythm to it, which was obviously what Channing was doing, which is authentic, it's what that sounds like, and they were like, kind of somewhere in the middle, and I was like, okay, got it.
It's interesting too, because when Chris Potter was first doing it back in the 90s, they got him to do it with a lot more of a thick accent in the beginning, and then they kept pulling it back because they said, well, we want the audience to be able to actually understand.
Matthew?
I went to see it opening weekend with Ross, who plays Xavier, and it was fun. It was very funny. The whole bait and switch with all the characters in the movie was fun. Like him popping up as that, having Blade come out, having Chris Evans come not as Captain America. Like all of it was.
Oh, that was brilliant. I love that. That was so much fun. I'm glad you asked here, so now everyone doesn't have to ask me at my table individually.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I get asked that the most now. Is that, and people will be like, you made me cry. And I'm like, sorry.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What is your favorite character besides the characters that you play?
In life or in X-Men?
In X-Men.
Storm. I love Storm. Yeah. She's amazing.
Morph. I love Morph. I love JP's. Yeah. I look forward to more Morph, hopefully, because I just love JP's take on things and the fact that Morph has this fun relationship with Wolverine that I'm obsessed with, and I can't get enough of Morph.
I like Colossus and Sebastian Shaw. I'm sorry?
My favorite is Wolverine.
Oh yeah,
that's fair.
It's a good choice.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news. This one's going to be our last question for the night.
Hello.
But you can come up to our little booths and see us too.
Hello. So, what do you think of the Fox X-Men films?
Sorry?
What do we think
What do
of
you think of
Fox?
the Fox X-Men movies?
I loved them, especially the first and second one. When they came out, I was very excited because it was the cartoon or the animated series is what I knew, and then when the movies came out, I was like, oh my god, it's X-Men, but they're real humans. So that was really novel and strange to me, but I was disappointed that there wasn't a Gambit, because that's what I wanted to see. There was actually a Gambit in the video game based on the movie that showed up briefly in a fighting game, but he was wearing their like suits, essentially. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I liked them, I enjoyed them, yeah.
I have to see them. I've only seen the first one, really. So I'd like to sit down and watch them. I've never even watched the original animated series of the X-Men. I've never sat down and watched the whole thing before. Because at the time, we were in our 20s and early 30s and we had lives. So we didn't sit down and watch like Saturday morning cartoons like most people. So I have some more watching to look forward to.
I like some of them and some of them less. Like, in fairness, like, I don't know how many they ended up making it because there were, 3 of the original cast, and then there were like 2 or 3 with the new cast, and then they kind of did like the Star Trek thing where they brought the old cast into the new cast and mixed them. Then there were like 3 Wolverine. There's like 433 films.
Dark Phoenix is your favorite, right? Dark Phoenix is your favorite?
Yes, that.
Yeah, that's your favorite
But
one.
there were some I liked and some that I liked less so. But I think that the one thing I will say is that I thought in general across all of them the casting was for the most part excellent.
Yeah.
Like I really liked who they chose. You know, almost every example.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
That's it. Bye.
Let's give everybody a round of applause.
Thanks so much. Yes.
Yeah.
Gambit
Gambit's
lives.
F, amazing.
Come up and see us at our booths, and we'll be happy to talk with you some more. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.